Colombia grows almost all cut flowers sold in the US, and it takes 80,000 workers across the country to keep this massive operation going. They have just 48 hours to get each bundle of fresh flowers to the United States from the moment they're picked. The work is fast-paced and repetitive, and being able to pull it off keeps bouquets cheap in the US. But what is the true cost of this billion-dollar trade?
El costo de esas flores bonitas es la salud de la gente, porque por ejemplo la mayoría de gente de Flora están enfermas de los brazos, de las manos, de la columna, porque uno tiene que trabajar allá como un robot.
Colombia's warm weather and quick flight time to the US make it a great place to grow flowers destined for the world's biggest import market. But there's another reason why the industry blossomed.
The gravest domestic threat facing our nation today is drugs.
The US war on drugs in the early 90s helped the Colombian flower industry take off. American politicians wanted to stop cocaine trafficking from South America, so Congress lowered taxes on legal imports from countries like Colombia to help other businesses compete with cocaine. Within 2 decades, Colombian flower exports to the US tripled in value. Today, Colombia is the second largest flower producer in the world, but keeping up with American demand can be grueling, especially in the lead up to Valentine's Day and Mother's Day. People work up to 13 hours a day for weeks, cutting, stripping, stacking, and wrapping over and over again. This kind of repetitive work wears away at the muscles, tendons, and nerves, which can lead to chronic injuries and accidents. There were more than 9,000 cases of work-related injuries in flower farms between 2010 and 2019, according to the Colombian Health Ministry. Experts say that's a lot, but it doesn't tell the whole story.
There's a lot of underreporting. And the reason is simple. People want to keep their jobs. Some workers that are not feeling okay, they still show up because they don't want to lose their jobs. And if they are responsible for children or for other persons, the situation is even worse.
Luz Dari and her daughter Delanie Valdez Moncada both got hurt working on flower farms. Delanie went back to work after she fractured her tailbone in a fall, but was eventually fired because she was less productive.
Uno tiene que sacar 480, digamos, cortes, digamos, en una hora, pero ya después de que estaba con las restricciones médicas, sería yo mentirosa decir que sí sacaba 480 o eso, no, porque o sea, yo paraba, yo me tomaba los medicamentos, salía o eso, porque el dolor en la cadera era...
Her mother, Luz, suffered 5 injuries over 19 years working on flower farms.
El movimiento repetitivo, aunque uno diga que no, con el tiempo lo acaba uno.
She used to cut 1,800 flowers a day. Now, at 46 years old, she can barely walk on her own.
Yo camino muy poco y ya no me aguanto el dolor. Yo me siento mucho y ya estoy que no me aguanto la espalda.
It all started with carpal tunnel syndrome in 2008. Luz was working on a farm similar to this one, called Finca Santa Barbara. Her job was to harvest roses.
Empecé a sentir las manos que se me dormían y se me dormían y se me dormían y las tijeras ya se me caían.
She switched tasks to pull weeds instead, but the work was still repetitive. Her injuries kept coming.
Me dio bursitis en el hombro y epicondilitis en el codo. O sea, en esta parte de la cintura era un dolor de cintura terrible y me bajaba a la parte izquierda. Ya como 7 años con ese dolor y dolor y dolor, hasta que ya las piernas no me respondieron.
Luz had to get back surgery in early 2021 to remove 2 herniated discs. They were so bad that they permanently damaged 2 vertebrae in her lower back.
Sí, claro, ya uno está limitado para todo. O sea, yo, por ejemplo, ya no puedo trapear, yo ya no puedo, escasamente puedo cocinar y eso que me pasen todo ahí. Porque lo que yo le digo, yo quedé de acá como si yo fuera un robot. O sea, yo ya no me puedo doblar, yo ya no me puedo bañar los pies, ya nada.
Luz's injuries are common among many industries and are among the 5 most common work-related injuries in Colombia. Work-related musculoskeletal disorders are the second biggest cause of disability around the world. And jobs like mining, construction, and manufacturing have some of the highest rates. But even tasks that may seem harmless, like picking roses, can lead to issues like this. In a 2021 study of 270 Kenyan flower farm workers, nearly 70% reported work-related musculoskeletal disorders.
The cutting, especially, we have identified that in addition to being repetitive, it requires application of force. Anything above 5% of your maximum capability when you conduct it for a long period of times, then you are at risk, a higher risk of getting this disease.
So is it possible to know if a flower sold in the US was grown at a farm that treats their employees well? Right now, the closest thing we have is the Flor Verde or FSF certification. It requires companies to meet labor and environmental standards. Some flower farms are getting creative when it comes to preventing repetitive stress injuries. Rodill Roses has been certified for more than 5 years. Employees get at least 3 stretching breaks a day. It's part of the company's efforts to help workers avoid the kinds of injuries that Luz suffers from.
Ahora con el tema de las cosechas, programas de pausas activas, de masajes a las extremidades que trabajan en el proceso productivo de los trabajadores, extremidades superiores, brazos, manos.
Many workers at Rodill Roses choose to work overtime in the lead up to Valentine's Day and Mother's Day.
Entrando de 6:30 a 8:30 de la noche. Un poco más de dinero, sí, es un poco más de ingreso. Este año está un poco más pesado. Hay menos gente y hay más trabajo.
Every year, the company gets audited to maintain its FSF certification. Auditors with Flor Verde check for injury prevention programs and documentation of worker injuries and accidents. Flor Verde says that more than a half of all Colombian flower farms are FSF certified. The farm Luz worked at was not. Luz has been on paid sick leave for over a year, but her employer requires her to send a new doctor's note every 2 weeks. It's the only way she can keep collecting checks from the company. And because she's a single mother, it's the only income for her 2 children.
Yo aún estoy joven para haber quedado en la situación que quedé. Y que yo prácticamente dependo de mis hijos.
Luz is trying to access her retirement pension so that she doesn't need those doctor's notes to get paid. But the pension company requires a team of doctors to sign a document confirming that her injuries were caused by work. Luz says it's been hard to get all of her doctors to cooperate.
O sea, porque eso, según la pensión se rige es a lo que dice un médico.
We reached out to Luz's employer, health insurance provider, and doctors, but none of them responded.
O sea, como que generen más empleo y den como menos horas extras, menos festivos para que la gente no se enferme tanto. Porque, o sea, uno se esclaviza en una empresa de esas y ahí queda. Y hoy que uno no tiene salud, ¿a quién le importa a uno? A nadie. Es la realidad de la vida.